Welcome to African Tales with I. Get ready for epic stories, thrilling adventures, and unforgettable moments. Whether you love action, mystery, or deep life lessons, this is the place for you. Subscribe now and join the journey. Let's start video. The War of the Stubborn Donkeys. In the heart of the vast African savanna, where golden grasslands stretched endlessly, two rival donkey clans, the Grey Hooves and the Black Tails, lived in uneasy peace. For generations, these two herds had coexisted, drinking from the same river and grazing upon the same fields. However, when a severe drought struck, tensions began to rise. The once bountiful river, which had been a source of life, dwindled to a mere trickle. Both clans claimed the remaining water as their own, refusing to share with the other. The leaders of each herd, Elder Maji of the Grey Hooves and Chief Rafiki of the Black Tails, convened for peace talks, but stubbornness ran deep in the blood of donkeys. Arguments turned to insults, and soon, insults turned to threats. The dry wind carried the sound of braying war cries across the plains, and so began the first war ever fought between donkeys. The Call to Arms. With war inevitable, both clans began their preparations. The donkeys sharpened their hooves against rocks, reinforced their hides with dried mud for armor, and even crafted primitive slings using vines and stones. Younger donkeys, eager to prove their worth, trained day and night, kicking tree trunks until the bark shattered. The Grey Hooves believed in strength and numbers, rallying every member of their herd to charge the enemy at once. The Black Tails, on the other hand, valued strategy. They planned to outmaneuver their foes, using the terrain to their advantage. Their scouts mapped the battlefield, identifying rocky outcrops and thorny bushes to lure their enemies into traps. As dawn approached, the war drums of hooves, stomping against dry earth, echoed across the plains. The battle was about to begin. The first clash. The war began at sunrise when the Grey Hooves launched a full frontal assault. Their warriors stormed across the battlefield, braying in unison, kicking up clouds of dust as they charged. The Black Tails were waiting. Hidden among the tall grass, they let their foes come closer before springing their trap. They flanked the Grey Hooves from both sides, using their agility to evade kicks and counterattacks. Chaos erupted as donkeys kicked, bit, and slammed into each other. Hooves met ribs with dull thuds, and the sound of braying filled the air. The battlefield, once a peaceful grazing land, was now a storm of dust, sweat, and determination. Though the Grey Hooves were powerful, the Black Tails' tactics gave them an early advantage. Yet, the battle was far from over. The stalemate. As the sun climbed higher, neither side could claim victory. The Grey Hooves, despite their brute force, could not break through the Black Tails' tactical maneuvers. Meanwhile, the Black Tails, though quick and clever, could not land a decisive blow to force their enemies to surrender. Both sides grew weary, their once mighty kicks slowing down, their voices hoarse from battle cries. The ground was littered with exhausted warriors, too tired to continue but too proud to retreat. The leaders of both clans stood at a distance, watching the battle unfold. Elder Maji and Chief Rafiki realized the war was becoming meaningless. Both sides were suffering equally, yet no true victory was in sight. But neither was willing to be the first to suggest peace. A trick of the wind. Just as the war seemed endless, fate intervened. A sudden gust of wind blew across the battlefield, carrying with it the scent of fresh water. The donkeys, all exhausted and thirsty, instinctively turned their heads in the direction of the scent. A small spring had opened up near the battlefield, bubbling with cool, clear water. The warriors, forgetting their battle for a moment, exchanged puzzled looks. What was the point of fighting over a dying river when fresh water had been found? Some donkeys hesitated, unsure whether to continue the fight or to quench their thirst. The tension lingered in the air like the dust they had kicked up. The truce? Elder Maji and Chief Rafiki met once more, but this time their tones were different. They did not argue or insult each other. Instead, they watched their exhausted warriors, their ragged breathing and bruised bodies. Without speaking, they knew what had to be done. Maji stepped forward and brayed loudly, calling his warriors back. Rafiki followed suit. The battle ended, not with one side victorious, but with both sides realizing their foolishness. The two leaders walked together to the spring and drank from it, setting an example for their herds. Slowly, the warriors followed, first cautiously, then eagerly. The war of the donkeys had ended not with a winner, but with wisdom gained. The lesson learned. After the war, the two clans merged into one great herd. No longer divided by old rivalries, they vowed never to fight over resources again. Instead, they worked together to find new grazing lands and water sources, ensuring that no future drought would drive them to war. Elders told the story of the donkey war to younglings, not to glorify battle, but to teach the cost of stubbornness. The donkeys learned that true strength was not in their hooves, but in their unity. From that day on, whenever tensions arose, they would remember the lesson of the war, and they would choose peace.